Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to the I Want to Play College Soccer presentation. My name is Ty Smith. I'm here. I'm the director here at Columbus Express Soccer Club. We'll go through this pretty quickly, but the agenda and the goals for tonight is to better understand the present day college search. So we'll go through a brief introduction and share a lot of info on processes and timelines and actions. One thing I did want to share with everyone was just some of my background. So I've been at Express for the last 4 or 5 years. Previously, I was at King's Hammer Academy. I was very fortunate to work with some very good athletes, many of which have gone on to play professionally or Division One soccer. But I also, while I was in the Cincinnati area, I was working at the University of Dayton, Xavier University, Miami University. So I have the coaching, recruiting background and knowledge to share, but then also I played in college and went through the process myself. So the key idea though is that I want to share with everybody is that college soccer may not be for you. You may decide I'd like to pursue different academic endeavors, or I'd like to just go to school and be a student, or I may be entering the workforce, or there may be opportunities that you can't compete athletically, and then all that's okay. But we want to make sure that all the players that we have, they're going through the process, they are ready for if the opportunity comes to them. Every year I get juniors and seniors that come up to me and they say, "Hey, I want to play college soccer." It's like, well, you had legwork. You needed to do some of this stuff a couple of years back, and you haven't. We can only do so much. So we're going to share some of the things that we want players to be able to do, and that they need to be doing to make sure that college soccer is a reality for them. So just some need to know info. Firstly, let's have realistic expectations. So if you're saying that your dream school is Harvard, Princeton, and Yale, and you have a 3.0 GPA, it's not going to happen. Just some figures with the total applicants that applied for admission at Princeton in 2019, 32,000, almost 33,000 applied, and only 1,300 were accepted. You needed to have nearly perfect SAT scores or ACT scores, and only 8 students from Indiana were admitted into that class. Stanford, with their women's soccer program, they're very, very strong. They had 25 players in the U.S. national team system. So I'm not saying that these can't be achievable goals for you, but I think we also need to be realistic. If you're struggling to play in a varsity game at the high school level, you're probably not playing at Stanford. If you have a 2.8 GPA, you're not getting into Princeton. But there are places to play, and one of the things that we have to understand are the different levels of play. So there's the NAIA, which has 4-year colleges. They offer athletic aid. They have some different age restrictions. And then there's 4-year colleges in the NCAA. So NCAA Division One, those are the biggest schools. Those are the schools you watch play college football. They can offer athletic scholarships. Division Two, slightly smaller schools, but they can offer athletic scholarships as well. And then NCAA Division Three, which is a big group, very small schools, typically high academic schools. They cannot give athletic aid, but they can get creative in other ways. And then there's the NJCAA, which I'm not super familiar with, but it is a 2-year college program. They have a lot of athletic scholarships that they can provide. So I think like those last chance U's, they've had the football. There are soccer programs around that can offer some aid. But just basically to understand the amount of kids that play high school soccer and that move on to college soccer, there's only about 6% of the high school players throughout the country that go on to play college soccer. And of all the players in the country, there's probably only about 2% that are going to play Division One soccer. So simply, if you took 100 soccer players, 6 of them are going to go play college soccer. And if you took the same 100, only 2 of those kids are going to play college soccer or at the Division One level. So it's competitive. You got to figure out ways that you can stand out and get seen, and that's what we're here to help you with. So from a scholarship standpoint, at the NCAA Division One level for men's, there's only 205 programs. It's probably less than that. This is based off 2018. But scholarships are fully funded at 9.9. 333 women's Division One teams with 14 scholarships that are fully funded. Not all programs are fully funded. And the way that they divide scholarships is up to the coach and the program and the staff. NCAA Division II, 215 men's programs with 9 scholarships fully funded, 267 on the women's side with 9.9. Division III, you have upwards of 400 plus schools. There are no athletic scholarships. In the NAIA, around 200 in both the men and the women. They can offer 12 scholarships for a fully funded program. And then you see the NJCAA, which they're still in that 200 range, but they can offer 24 scholarships for fully funded programs, both on the men and the women. So just to understand the athletic scholarships, and just as an example, we'll use very square numbers, but let's say that tuition costs $20,000 a year, and room and board's another $10,000. That's $30,000 that's going to cost to go to school there. If there's 20 players on a soccer team, and we're going to use the 9.9 scholarships fully funded Division I for men, 14 scholarships fully funded for women, let's just say that we split scholarships evenly. A men's program, you'd still have about 15,000 that you'd have to pay for, and then a women's program, there'd still be about 9,000 you'd have to pay for. Now, understanding this, the assumptions are both programs are fully funded. Most are not. This is for NCAA Division I soccer, which only 2% of the people get into. Having 20 players on a team is not likely. You're likely going to have 25 to 30, even 40. I've seen rosters with 50 kids on it. And then the coaches are not going to be splitting scholarships evenly. It may likely the top player is going to get a bigger chunk than the bottom tier guy. So the big key with all this to keep in mind is that grades and your academics is going to be your money for college soccer. So a lot of kids say they have all these different misconceptions, and we want to debunk some of those myths. But one of them is my cousin got a full ride to play. It's doubtful that your cousin did get a full ride to play soccer. Soccer is not a revenue generating sport. Their scholarships are structured as such, but it's likely that if a player is on a close to full scholarship, most of their money is coming from academics, not just athletic based. I'll get into that school. I scored 30 goals last year. It doesn't matter how good you are athletically. If you don't have the academics, you're not going to get recruited. So make sure that you're doing what you need to in the classroom. My coach knows their coach. I'll for sure get on the team. Not always true. Coaches they may have relationships, but also they have those relationships built on trust and honesty and accountability. You may not be the fit for that program, or you may not be a player for that college program despite your coach's relationship with them. And coaches are going to make sure that they help their buddies out in the coaching world. I only want to play Division I soccer. They have the best soccer. While this is mostly true, it's not always the case. There's been plenty of Division I schools that get beat regularly by NAIA Division II schools that in exhibitions and spring games. When I was at one of the schools in Cincinnati, the men's program got beat. A Division I men's program got beat by Ohio Wesleyan, a Division III program. So it's not always the best soccer. Typically, you got a nicer meal, you got a better place to stay, you got better facilities, but Division I doesn't always have the best soccer, but in many cases they do. If I'm a walk-on, I'll never get a play. So unlike the guys that sit on the end of the bench waving the towel at the basketball games, walk-ons at college soccer level will play. We've had kids from Columbus go on to be captains of their Division I teams, play in national championships, win national championships, and compete and contribute as walk-ons. The school wants me, they're recruiting me, they invited me to their ID camp. They might be, but likely every kid within the 200-mile radius got that same invitation, unless it's very specific and it says they watched you at this game and you did this and this and this. It's probably a mass sent letter. So one of the things that we're trying to educate more people about is why club soccer is important. We're in an area where high school soccer carries a lot of weight, and it's great, and I think it has a lot of benefits. But just looking at a high school match, you're seeing a lot of juniors and seniors, a couple of sophomores, maybe a freshman or two that gets in a varsity game. And from a college coach standpoint, they may be recruiting juniors and seniors. They may be recruiting juniors and sophomores. They may be recruiting sophomores and freshmen. But just as an example, just to show you a little filter, as a college coach comes up to me and says, we need some sophomores, and we really need to find a solid center back. Well, if we took that same high school match and we threw that and viewed it through that filter of what that coach needs, there's really only 6 of 22 players that are recruitable in a scenario. Now, obviously, that changes if the coach says, hey, I need this, I need to look at seniors, that may change it. But when they're looking at most of their recruiting stuff, they're focusing on freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and then seniors towards the tail end. But if you look at a club game, this is based off of the 2005 boys team. There are 9 of 16 recruitable players in that scenario. Basically, a club game, you're going to see more players of certain age criteria, a more balanced level of competition. And then for the high school or for the college coaches, it's easier for them to balance with their college season. Most of their college seasons, all of their college seasons are in the fall, the same time as high school season. So it's really tough for them to get away on a weeknight to come down after their practice. And they've got other things where they're trying to organize their team. But in the club season where we're playing in their off season, there are different recruiting events and showcases that help. But I do think high school soccer is very beneficial for our players. And obviously it has some resources that club soccer doesn't provide, and one being media coverage. There's no stories about the club soccer in the paper. Very good media coverage locally within the state. If you're a younger guy and you're playing with older players, that's beneficial for you. So you're playing outside of your grade level, that's always good. You have the school pride, some additional resources, athletic trainers, athletic departments, things like that. But as I mentioned, it's tough for college coaches to come watch. So that's why we put such an emphasis on the recruiting areas within club soccer, because that's where most of the coaches are going to see you play. But I think you got to be able to make both of them work. So the journey to college soccer, first and foremost, you got to have it academically. So you got to have the grades, the test scores, making sure you're taking appropriate classes, making sure you can balance the academics and other areas of college. And then secondly, if you have it all academically, do you have it athletically? So are you good enough? Are you skilled enough? Can you compete? Can you play for this coach? Even looking at programs and schools, would you like to play at this place? If the coach is a yeller and a screamer, or the kids are really intense and they're not very friendly, could you handle that environment? These are questions that you need to ask yourself as you're looking at athletic programs. And then there's the cultural and social aspect of school. So could you afford to go here? Is it worth paying all that money for a degree? I mean, frankly, I got an education degree, and there's not a ton of money in education. Is it worth paying $60,000 a year to get a degree where you're going to make this, and you could go elsewhere and get the same degree? Would you enjoy the student body? Does the school have what you want socially? Is it in the location and climate and the campus that you want? Most people are going to kind of live within a couple hours of where they went to college. So is this where you want to be long term? And then can you balance the school and sports on campus? What's the living situation? All these questions need to be considered by you as you're going through your college search. And then the big question is, can you handle college and soccer? So do you feel like you're organized enough? Are you prepared enough? Obviously, you're not going to know what it's like until you get put in the situation, but if you're struggling doing homework at the high school level while playing sports, you're definitely going to struggle at the college level. So can you be more motivated in your high school academics and learning proper study habits, so that when you get into college, you can maintain the factors of keeping up your grades academically, performing athletically, and then also balancing the different distractions or social events that are happening on a college campus. So we talked about this in years past, but your virtual presence, many of you guys are new to our club or to the senior teams, but you guys are a brand. You're a brand, your virtual brand is more important than ever. And when we think about a virtual brand, we're talking your social media, your film, your video, your player profiles, your references, your academics, and how you go about communicating. So one big thing that we've tried to hone in with our players is to create a player profile. You can use a Google Doc link. It just has your contact info, your personal info, references. You can put links to videos on there. Simple to use. This was something I created in probably 10 minutes. And then you have your soccer references. So realize that references are going to be those people that can vouch for you. If the coaches see your film, if they can't see you play, they want to know how are you character wise. Do you show up to practice? Do you work hard? Um, they're always going to ask for reference. So when you go through and trying to figure out your references, you can use some of our coaches, our directors, myself, high school coaches, but always ask your reference if they can be a reference. You don't want to have somebody call and be like, hey, uh, I want you to do my reference. And they're saying, well, what am I going to say? You haven't been to practice in 3 weeks. You probably need to find a different reference or start coming to practice. But also inform your references of the schools you're pursuing. So if you were saying, hey, the other day a kid came up to me and says, hey, what do you know about this school? And I said, well, I went to that school. He's like, really? Do you know the coach? Yeah, I know the coach really well. Now, because he informed me that he was looking at this school, I can reach out, put in a good word, help that kid out. But realize your references will be honest. College coaches' job security is based on program success and kids doing what they need to do academically and staying out of trouble. And a club coach, same thing, but we have professional relationships with the college coaches. So a typical assessment would be something about 4 or 5 positive soccer points, 1 and 2 areas that they need to improve upon, and then maybe some where you see them potentially in 4 to 5 years. And then lastly, the character assessment. Are they a good kid? Are they a good student? Do they show up on time? Do they work hard? What would their teammates say about them, et cetera, et cetera. As mentioned previously, your academics, your grades are going to be your money. So include academic information and things that you send, but you need to be honest. Soccer community is very small. If you're lying about something, it's going to be found out. If you say that you have a 3.5 and we check your transcript and it's a 2.7, you're going to be left out. But challenge yourself to have good habits and build upon good academic habits, because the higher that GPA is, the better you can do academically, the more money you're going to get. Email and communication. Create accounts specifically for college communication. Something simple, something clean. I like using iCloud. I like using Gmail because it gives you access to some different things. But your email account should have probably your first name, your last name, maybe a jersey number, maybe a graduation year. Stay away from accounts that have inside jokes or different things like that. So when you're sending emails, making sure how you're going to get noticed. Coaches get a lot of emails. Some are going to get deleted right away because they don't have a name, they don't have a school, they don't have a club, it's just a generic blasted out email. So be individual, send individual emails with detail to all the coaches. Mention programs that you're interested in, include game info when you're inviting them, your jersey number, your coach, to kick off the field, etc. And then if you have any connections, include them. So if you know an alumni or a kid that played there, a kid that went to your high school that plays at this school, mention that. But you got to be able to get noticed. Ways to get your email deleted: putting the wrong school or the coach, forgetting to put your information in there, using informal language, sending a carbon copy email to every single coach. That's surefire ways to get deleted. So an example of a very brief email, but dear coach, my name is this. I play this position for this team. I'm this grade. I watched you play. That's all in personalized introduction. I was all conference. I have a 3.7, 3.8. I have the academic and soccer honors in there. Here's a link to my video. Boom. Here's my schedule with games, times, opponents, fields, bang. And then, if you have any questions, contact my coach. Signed, Jane Doe, jersey name, team, contact info, etc. So very simple, basic email. You can find this on our webpage and resources. You can also find tons of templates how to email college coaches. Social media. clean it up. So this is a first search on the internet. We'd get a kid to email us. We didn't know anything about the kid. First thing we do is get on Google, search it, find it, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It would all pop up. So make sure your profiles are clean, have a high moral standard, keep away from profanity, keep away from controversial topics, and you should all be able to use social media as a positive outlet for your recruiting. One of the kids that I used to coach, Britt, she's committed to IU. She had a great social media profile just strictly for soccer. She had her personal account, and then she has her soccer only account. She was always posting clips or videos or highlights on her Instagram, had links to it. So just as a close up, you can see her name, got her personal account info on there, team name, jersey number, school, grad year, and then they even went a step further and created their own personal website that included all kinds of contact information and clips of her playing. Film and video. So we want to be able to put together some films, some highlights, share some of the videos if coaches can't come out and watch you play. We do include a lot of our games on the Express YouTube page, so you can go through and pull some of those clips. I'm not smart enough to figure out how to do it all individually yet, but you have access to it with a screen grab or whatever you need. But create some clips, build a highlight film. You can put 10 minutes a game on there, or you can start filming yourself. When we film ourselves, all you really need is an iPad and an iPhone. You can record on both. You can trim and cut using iMovie on both. You can upload it to YouTube. Tripod cases are relatively inexpensive, and then also you can do all your communication from there. I think most everybody's got access to an iPad or an iPhone, but you can manage everything video-wise from there at a relatively inexpensive cost. So one thing I would encourage all of our players to do is create a video profile, whether that be on YouTube or Instagram. But you have 10 minutes of unedited game film. Maybe there's a good sequence of 7-8 minutes that shows you in possession, out of possession, or making saves or scoring goals. But create some highlight clips with a variety of skill. And then doing multiple things. So just if you score a bunch of goals, don't just put your goal scoring. Show some of your pressing. Show some of your receiving the ball out of the air, connecting passes, different things like that. If you're a goalkeeper, show crosses, shot stopping, receiving the ball with your feet, playing out of the back. These are all things that coaches want to see. You can always use a tripod if you can. The video does not need to be professionally made. If you have people at your high school in the video department that can help you out, give them $50. Say, hey, I need help putting together a film. Here are the clips of what I want. Would you be able to do it? I'm sure a kid would love to do that. I had a guy that did it when I was in high school, back when we were working with tapes and putting them on VHS tapes. So it's totally doable. Technology's come a long way since 2004. But most of you guys weren't even born yet. But you can put a table of contacts in your YouTube and your video introductions. Mute the person filming, and then keep away from the profanity in your audio. Here's a brief video of Jameson Hale. Jameson was a goalkeeper that played for us a couple years ago. He kind of got screwed with his recruiting based off of COVID. But here are just some of the clips that we had with him. So introduction page, and then just some different shot stopping, picking off crosses, reaction saves, some distribution, using his feet. We made it about 2 minutes, but while Jameson and I went through the process of this, he kind of put together his clips at first, and I said, hey, man, keep this one, get rid of that one, move this one to the front, because some of the things that he thought were really good, I said, well, those are really good, but there's other things that coaches would rather see. So let's keep some of those in there, but can you find me some more clips where you're doing this or this or this? So there's about 2 minutes. We'll skip forward, but share it with your coaches. Let them know. So recruiting is not a fairy tale, guys. Coaches are not just going to show up one day at practice. They're not just going to show up to your game to watch. You need to contact them, send them messages, communicate regularly. Just keep at it. They're not going to respond to your first email. They're not going to do it, but keep sending them stuff. I have email chains from when I was way back when sending emails, and I sent coaches emails every week after games. I gave them updates, let them know, even if they deleted them. Eventually, they came around, or I sent them film. And sometimes a no is helpful because then you know where to focus your efforts. So, but be diligent about that. Follow and like them on social media. Give them a follow. Give them a like. Post post things. Tag them. Visit. Get on campus. Watch a match. Schedule a campus tour. Send your highlights. Send a full match film if you can, and then do your research. Know the school, and then know the soccer programs. You guys all have access to the internet. The way that I found Thomas More, where I first went to, I literally found him on the internet. Never even heard of him before. Decided, hey, let's look at this place. Watched them play soccer. Saw that they had a game that was local. Went and watched them play. Met the coach. Went to our campus. Liked it. Enrolled. All because I was clicking around on the internet one night. So one of the things I just want to drive home with everybody, though, is get on campus. Take your visits, all right? I cannot take kids and shove them in a car. I cannot take 400 of you and take you on a campus tour myself. Parents, be organized and help your kids out with this. Get them on campus, even if it's a local campus. Start somewhere so you have things to base it off of. A no is okay. You'll know if you want to go to school there watching after walking on campus for 10 minutes. You can focus your efforts elsewhere. Or now you have a school you really like and you can compare others to that school. But you got to get on campus. Set up a meeting and a tour. Stop in the athletic offices. Watch the team play. Be organized. Introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Ty. I'm this. Nice to meet you, coach. Make a good impression, but get on campus, guys. That's the biggest thing, and it doesn't take a whole lot. Just look at your calendar, find some free days. Maybe you can knock 2 or 3 off. When you get on campus, do not wear other schools' stuff on campus. That was always a pet peeve. I had kids visiting Xavier wearing Dayton sweatshirts. That kid wasn't getting recruited. Dress neutral. You don't have to wear all your high school stuff. Just wear normal clothes. Be friendly. But we had a kid that's a good player. Been helping him through his recruiting process. He's about 6'3", 6'4". Couldn't understand why this coach keeps they won't respond. I know he's a good player. I know he could play at this place. I just said, just go visit. Just go take a visit. And when they see that you're 6'3", 6'4", you're skillful and you're left-footed, they're gonna be intrigued and they're gonna start recruiting you. Sure enough, the kid went down. First thing out of the coach's mouth is like, well, you definitely have the frame to play at this level. Boom. It's a day he checked out the school and now he's on their radar. So just get on campus. If you learned anything from this tonight, is go visit schools, figure out where you want to go and where you don't want to go. Even if you're driving through, just stop in and check it out. Timelines. So some of this stuff we'll go through pretty quickly. It's kind of boring. But the 8th grade year, make sure that you're getting ready. You're researching 21st Century Scholars Program. You're meeting with your counselors and you're building habits to be a good student. And then visit schools and check out the programs. Your freshman year is the day after your last day of 8th grade. Start meeting with counselors about wanting to play college athletics. They'll make sure that you're taking the proper courses. Check information on eligibility and recruiting. Prepare yourself academically to attend a D1 school. If you can attend a D1 school, you can attend all the schools. And then visit schools and programs. Sophomore year is the first day after your last day of 9th grade. Again, make sure you're checking in with your counselors. Start looking at pre-ACT or pre-SAT dates, and then checking with any new rules that would be happening in NCAA, and keep visiting schools and programs. Junior year, meet with your counselor to make sure you're on target. Start searching for dates for the ACT or SAT. send your ACT or SAT scores to the Eligibility Center, the NCAA, check for rule changes, register with the NCAA Eligibility Center, have your high school counselor send transcripts to the Eligibility Center at the end of your junior year, and visit schools and programs. And then lastly, your senior year, make sure you're on target to meet all your requirements. Ask your coach or potential colleges about applications, application deadlines, waivers, anything regarding application to schools or financial aid. Complete and submit for the FAFSA. You can get some money off of that, off of school for that. It'll help you out tremendously. Research and apply for any outside scholarships. They may have some quirky, like I think they had one of my buddies got one because he had asthma. But different scholarships, make sure you know about that within the school, ask around, and then retake the ACT, SAT if you need to. And then lastly, have your high school counselor send your final transcript and improve graduation. But all throughout that senior year, if you're not sure where you want to go, continue to visit and see schools and programs. So as we finish up, we go through this action plan. What should you be doing now? First, setting up your virtual presence, your emails, your socials, your profile, and then getting your film and highlight videos organized. This is probably the most tedious. This is probably the most time consuming. And many of your teams have footage on our YouTube page or through games that we've recorded. You just have to make your film. You have to do it. If you want to hire somebody to do it, by all means, have at it. But you can start working on this film and highlight. Researching schools and contacting schools, getting on those campuses, and then adhering to the academic guidelines and focusing on getting high grades. Just some reminders, some additional information. They may or may not take SAT, ACT anymore. Some schools are getting away from it after the COVID thing, kind of threw a wrench in standardized testing for schools. A lot of kids have decided they're not going to school anymore. You may or may not have to test. But I would not pay for a recruiting service personally. I would think that you use some of this information and some of the information that our coaches have provided in the past. As long as you work at it and don't be afraid to ask for guidance, I think recruiting service is not needed. But by all means, if you want to do it, have at it. Run your film by your coaches before you send it out. A player sent me his film a couple weeks ago. I looked at it. I said, hey, you got a lot of this, but we want to see more clips of this. He said, well, that stuff's boring. I said, well, that's what they want to see. I'm just telling you. So make sure you run your film by them, and they'll help you sort it out and tell you this is good or that's good or change that. And then remember, your scholarship money is likely coming from your academics, and it's hard to play college soccer. 6.3% move on to play, and only about 2% go on to play Division I. So last piece of advice, we'll get you guys out of here. Don't focus on the end goal. Even if you say, I want to play at this school, I want to play at big name state, that decision might be out of your control. They may not recruit you, they may not look at you, but I think if you guys focus on the process and progress of I'm doing what I need to do on the field and athletically, I'm doing what I need to do academically, but then I'm also going through the steps to go through the recruiting process. I'm focusing on that. I'm improving every day. Those are things under your control, and that's going to help you get to where you want to be. So again, this is a recorded video, so if you have any questions after the fact, just send me an email at ty@columbusexpress.com. But other than that, enjoy your evening, and we'll see everybody at training next week. All right, take care.